Welcome into 6 p.m. in Lincoln with former Nebraska linebacker Chris Kolarevic.
Intercepted. Ball game over. Picked off by Chris Kolarevic.
This is 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic, sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hey, what's up? This is Chris Kolarevic. I'm coming to you live at 6 p.m. in Lincoln. The obvious thing is we got a lot of college football to talk about today. I'll just get right into it. I have the college football rankings pulled up on my phone. I was curious to see who's going to make this playoff. I'm a little bit irritated that Indiana's still behind Ohio State. Just off the rip, looking at these rankings, I feel like Ohio State probably should have dropped further, considering they have 2 losses. And they just lost to a 6-6 Michigan team. Or I guess 7-5 now. I feel like they should have dropped further. And Indiana's only got 1 loss, and they played a whole Big Ten schedule. So I don't like that they're 9. The rest of it looks okay. Oregon, I feel like Oregon's going to win it. It's going to be Oregon or Texas. I mean, the top 2. That's pretty accurate. The one thing, you know what's surprising since the beginning of the season is Notre Dame. I mean, I remember watching that Notre Dame Northern Illinois game, the one they lost, and I remember watching that game and thinking, "Wow, is Notre Dame going to lose like 10 games this year?" And the Northern Illinois coach is literally crying after the game, like sobbing on the interview about how big of a game it is for them to win. And Notre Dame just looked down bad. All of a sudden, they're ranked number 4 in the country. Took a loss to Northern Illinois. I mean, how do you even, if you're ranking teams, how do you even rank that? How do you even like put that up? Because they've obviously had some good wins, and they just killed USC. The USC and UCLA experiment in the Big Ten has been really interesting. And I got to turn the volume down on this mic. My headphones are too loud. Hurt my ears a little bit. That's a little better. Georgia 5. Okay, that game I want to talk about first. So this 8 overtime game. I was watching this game live, and it just kept going. Pretty surprising, first of all, that Georgia was that close with Georgia Tech. Didn't see that coming. It feels like there's not any outside of Oregon and Texas. I feel like this would have been a decent year for the BCS. We don't really need the playoff this year, in my opinion. You really don't even need the playoff. Oregon and Texas are obviously the best 2 teams. Because after that, I mean, you got Penn State. They got a loss. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. No shot they would make it. Georgia, I mean, I don't think Notre Dame's going to win the championship. Georgia, I mean, they just went 8 overtimes with Georgia Tech. I mean, they're not going to win it. Tennessee, no shot. Ohio State, I mean, 4 straight Michigan losses. 4? If you would have said 4 years ago that Ohio State was going to lose 4 straight to Michigan, you would have told you're crazy, because I think they had won like 10 straight. I mean, the tides turned there, and it was very, very eye-opening to see that loss. Honestly, I mean, do you think Ryan Day's on the hot seat at all? I think he should be. I mean, I grew up in Michigan, and I used to watch this game religiously every year, and people used to say that game was as important, if not more important, than all the other 11 combined. Like, that was how everybody thought in that state, because there's so much bad blood, and you saw how much bad blood there was. But I really think if that's the case, then Ryan Day's job probably should be on the hot seat. I mean, if you're Ohio State, you should be winning 10 games a year. There's no, and look, maybe because we did the same thing, I guess, with Bo Pelini, where we were winning 10 games a year and gave him the axe. So you don't want to get into a situation where you spiral after this. But if you're Ohio State, you're getting 5-star recruits. You should not be losing to a 6-5 Michigan team you just shouldn't be losing to them. And, you know, I mean, the kicker misses some field goals. That guy's going to have a bad couple weeks. The guy's going to have a tough couple weeks. His Twitter's going to have he's going to have a tough couple weeks. I don't really feel for him, though, because it wasn't like they were 50-yarders. And you're kicking 34-yard field goals, and it's the biggest rivalry game in the whole college football. You got to make those field goals. So I don't think Ohio State's going to beat Oregon. They already lost to them. I don't think they're beating Texas. I don't think SMU will beat Clemson this week. Indiana, Indiana I think could surprise somebody. I think they could make it to the final, but I don't think they're going to win it. There's no way. They're just not. I mean, they beat some bad teams. Like they beat some bad and average teams. I don't think Indiana's got a win that's like really good. I guess they beat Nebraska by a lot, but I don't think they have a win against like a really, really good team. And they kind of got the brakes beat off of them by Ohio State. Boise State, cool story. That Genty, that running back, he should win the Heisman. There's no question about it. Like he should definitely win the Heisman, but he's not going to. Alabama, they're not like that this year. I mean, really, like we should. This year would have been a great year for the BCS. Like a lot of years, it's a little bit debatable, but like this year, Oregon, Texas, it's a wrap. I think that's who's going to be in the championship game. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. But we should get into this Nebraska game because there's a lot to talk about. I mean, where do you start? Like, where do you start? I think first of all, not shaking hands before the game. Like you got to look yourself in the mirror. You're a 6-5 team. Like it's not like you're a great team, and it's not like there's even that much. Like there's bad blood between Nebraska and Iowa, but it's not like anybody really did anything to like make anybody mad. And you're going to go out there and not shake hands. It was just a little strange. I don't think anybody noticed it until after the game when 34 went and shook Rule's hand. But I mean, to go not shake hands and then lose, that's a big issue. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. It was strange to see the exact same score and basically exact same situation as last year. That was weird. But like Nebraska dominated the game. Like if you look at yards, if you look at first downs, if you look at third down conversions, if you look at every stat, time of possession, I think they dominated every single stat that exists in football, and yet they still lost. That one touchdown that Iowa had, just zero tackling. I just don't know how to feel about it. I think there's obviously making a bowl game. It provides some hope to the team. I think it's a really good step. You're going to get an extra month of practice, which is huge. I think that kind of gets lost on a lot of fans, where if you don't make a bowl game, the season's literally over right now. And the coaches go into transfer portal, recruiting, off-season workouts, and the players just kind of leave. Like the players, unless they have classes, they leave. Like they don't show up to the stadium. So having an extra month of practice where you have the team, like you develop a little more team camaraderie for going into next year. You develop more. You can put in some more plays, especially if Dana Holgorsen is going to stay. I think you can put in some more plays. I think you can develop the team a little better. So I do think that making a bowl game is a massive step for next year, just because of that extra month, which I think gets lost on people. That's going to be extremely valuable for the team. So there's a lot of hope there. And I think if you look back on, if you would have told us, obviously this season there's some ups and downs. If you look at day one of the season, you start August 31st, you start fall camp. And if you said, hey, we're going to go 6-6 and there's going to be some ups and downs, but we're going to beat some decent teams and we're going to go 6-6 and we're going to make a bowl game. Would you be happy with that result? And I honestly think that 95% of people in this state would be happy with that result. Would they be overjoyed? Would they be jubilated with 6-6? No, but based on the last 8 years, I think 6-6 is a good step. And that's kind of crazy to say for the University of Nebraska. You wouldn't think that 6-6 would be this big step, but it really is. I think there is a lot of hope there. But there was definitely some troubling things in that game. There was, I think a lot of things got overblown, but not shaking hands. Like I think, who did that? Was it? Hey, do you remember, Jake? Was it when didn't that happen to Baker? Baker Mayfield
Yeah,
back in the day.
Kansas. Yep.
Kansas did that to him, or did
Yep.
he do that to Kansas?
Kansas did that to him.
Kansas,
They were,
and then they beat the brakes off of Kansas.
yeah.
Right?
Kansas was in the midst of their like 10-year couldn't get a win on the
Right.
field streak, and
I mean,
Baker was on his way to win the Heisman.
I think if you're not shaking the other team's hand, I think the other team's in your head. Like if you're really at the point where you can't like shake their hand before the game when you're a captain, they might be in your head. And I think Iowa might have been in our heads because the way the end of that game went seemed like it. There wasn't any like terrible mistakes. We just weren't really moving the ball. The defense I was very encouraged by the defense. The defense played fantastic outside of literally one play, which you can have one play like that and you should still win the game. Like we should have had more than 13 points in that game. I'm not sure how to feel about it. And I think that's where a lot of people are at, where it's like, there's some good and there's some hopeful things happening, but you just look at it and there's a lot of red flags going up. It's like, I don't know. It just feels weird to me not shaking hands. It feels weird to me letting up that run where he broke 8 tackles in one run. It feels weird to me. It feels weird to me, losing that game when you're dominating every statistical category. It just feels weird. So my hope is that we can get to 7 wins. My hope is that this bowl game can treat us well and we can play I don't know who's around 6-6, 7-5, like Oklahoma. You think we could play Oklahoma? Maybe. I think they're around there, like a big name school that's had a down year. Who we play in Oklahoma? Who's another out of conference that's been like a SEC school, like an Auburn? I don't know. How's Auburn this year? Something like that. I think that'd be an interesting game. I think it'd be an interesting game against like a pretty average SEC school to see. And I think it would also be interesting to see how the offense updates if they have a month to practice. I think that'll help a lot going into next year. So that's really all I got on the Nebraska game. It was I think frustrating for a lot of people. I think 6 wins should be hopeful. I don't know. What do you think, Jake? You think like if I came to you August 31st this year, 2024, August 31st, and I said, hey, Nebraska is going to go 6-6 and make a bowl game, and they're going to have a couple decent wins. They're going to beat breaks off Colorado, and they're going to look good sometimes. Like, are you happy with that?
I think I would be, I don't know if happy is the word, but satisfied would probably be there. A lot of people have different opinions. If that's what I've kind of been saying all along, there's been this long, outside of the Wisconsin win, there was that 4-game losing streak. And I've been kind of saying, if you're somebody that came in and expected 9 or 10 wins, then yeah, you're going to be pretty upset. But
right.
If you're a fan that, and it's frustrating, you don't want to have the expectations of 500.
Nope.
But when the team hasn't made a bowl game in 7 years, it is literally a step forward. So you have to say, okay, making a bowl game, at least that would be a step in the right direction. Then I always say too, you can't be too upset about if what you hired on their resume shows up at your school. And that's kind of what it's been so far. Matt Rule doesn't necessarily win or, a whole lot in year 1. Year 2 kind of hovers around 500. Year 3 is the breakout year. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on year 3 for him.
Most definitely.
I think, and I don't think I speak for Husker Nation, but I think there is a pocket of us that's.
I think it's fair to say that you speak for Husker Nation. I think it's fair to say.
Well, I get, because I have these off-season arguments every year that we've been doing this about like trying to get to a bowl game. And then, there's always the bite back of, well, nobody's goal is 500. You got to be better than that. You got to. And I get it. Some teams can do that all in 1 year. Look at Indiana. But, a lot of them, it's a building process. And you hired a coach that his stops have been a building process. And so, I think that this is a step forward. And again, you've done some other things. You beat Wisconsin for the first time since 2012. You beat Colorado. You haven't been beating Colorado. So, with those things in mind, there were success stories this year. I mean, you had to drop your offensive coordinator, so there's some rocky times as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think I would again. I don't think I would say overly excited about it, but I think I would say it's a step in the right direction.
Agreed. And I think you can't expect an Indiana. Like you can't the expectation. That's great if that happens, and I'm happy for that program honestly because they've been terrible for a long time. But I don't think it's fair to go into the season after how things have been here and expect an 11-1, a Big Ten championship. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's a fair expectation because when you're rebuilding a program, that's exactly what it is. It's a rebuild, and we're building. So the building happens with trials and tribulations. The building happens with issues. There's some kinks to get out. There's also the factor of Matt Rule came from the Carolina Panthers. He did not come from an FCS school like Indiana. Indiana guy, I'm blanking on his
Chris
name right now. Signetti. He came from JMU, and a lot of his players were from JMU. So the core of his team was his guys, like his guys that he had recruited from high school, probably been to their houses and met their parents, molded them in the weight room, molded them on the field, and created them into the players that they are. And you look at Rule, and there's not that many, and there's some young guys playing, but there's not like all the old guys that are playing were not his recruits. They're not his guys because he came from the NFL. So I think there's a factor of maybe the old guard needs to change. Maybe his guys need to be the guys, and I think that will be very telling once his recruit, because I think that's a big sign of a coach. I think is the guys that he picked from high school, the ones that he handpicked and recruited, the ones that he thought he put his bets on and said, okay, these guys are going to be good players. Though once those guys are the juniors, seniors of the people of the team and leading the people, and they're the ones that are taking the reins. Once those guys are the seniors and the juniors, that's when you can really tell the quality of a coach. I think you could see it pretty early with Indiana because his guys were all his guys already. By the way, I think people are going to start doing that way more, bringing an FCS coach in. I think that's going to start happening a lot, where they're going to bring an FCS coach, and an FCS coach is going to bring a lot of his players, especially these like rebuilding teams. It's just gonna happen because it makes too much sense. You get guys that have literally been playing college football for 4 years under a coach already, who've been playing it. Let's be honest, pretty good competition. Like I played at that level, and there's really good players at that level, and they know how to play. So it's much different than getting. It's way different than getting a bunch of transfers from a bunch of random schools. Like it's a completely different thing. You're getting players that already trust you, already believe in your message, already see the value in what you're promoting, and you're bringing them to a new school, and you're bringing a bunch of them. So there's a core group, and they all get along. They all know how to lead a team. So it's very different than getting a bunch of random transfers. The cohesiveness of a football team, I think, sometimes gets lost on fans because like a team has to be on the same page. A team has to be working together in the same direction because it's such a team-oriented sport. It's not like basketball where you can get a LeBron James out there or a Steph Curry out there and he can just shoot a bunch of threes and win the game for you. It's just not how it works. Like you can't just have a group, like the group of misfits doesn't really work, especially in college football. Like NFL is a little different. They're pros. They know how to work together. But like in college, you have to have people that have, lived together, spent time together outside of football, so they have that trust because they're young and they're trying to figure things out. So you have to have that cohesiveness. And with that cohesiveness, that just takes time. It takes years to develop. And I think once Matt Rule's recruits, his guys that he's brought in, I think his first class is now sophomores. They're going to be juniors next year. And I think that's when you hopefully start to see some of these changes. No, that's not to say anything against any of the guys that are there now that are Frost guys. I just think you get guys that are brought up under one coach, then you bring a new coach in. There's always going to be like maybe some skepticism with the new coach, regardless of how much you believe in him. There's always going to be like another person that has taught you how to play. So there's different messages. There's different ways of thinking. There's old patterns that may come up where, let's be honest, like we choked a lot. I was on the team. We choked a lot in the fourth quarter, and we choked a lot when things got down to the wire. And you kind of have those old patterns in a lot of the old players, and that I think maybe gets carried over. But then when you get all the new players coming in and they're the leaders, my hope, what I'm thinking is that will change as time goes on as he gets his guys in. So that'll be interesting to see. It'll be really good to get the bowl game practice, get all those young guys, because it'll be focused. The way I understand bowl game practices, and personally, I never made a bowl game. I was there. I was here 2 years, didn't make one. I was at UNI. We didn't have bowl games. We did playoffs, so it was a little different. Where playoffs is more, it's you're trying to go win a championship. You got 5 games to go win a trophy. A bowl game, it's like one and done, and the game doesn't really matter. So the way I understand it is, it's going to be a lot of practice with the younger guys. It's going to be a lot of technique stuff. It's going to be a lot of installing new plays, and that's going to help those young guys develop a ton, because those guys just need reps. Like, you just need, the more reps they can get at the college level, the better, because you bring in guys like, there's very rare the high school kid that comes in ready to play in college. And I mean, Dylan was fairly ready, but it wasn't like he was out there dominating this year. Like, even he could use reps. All these young guys can use reps, and they're all going to take advantage of them, hopefully. And they're going to give them a lot of reps, and they're going to give the seniors kind of their farewell tour. They'll get to hang out at practice, not have to work that hard, I assume. And then the younger guys will get a lot of the reps, and they'll build towards next year. And I think that's what a bowl game's about. So I think that's just going to help the program a ton. I like where it's going. I like how we didn't just completely slide this season. The Wisconsin one was good. Like, we didn't just completely fall off the map. We still won a couple games towards the end of the season and made a bowl game. So I'm hopeful about it. I saw the video of the linebacker, the Iowa linebacker, go to shake Matt Rule's hand. And it was very funny, because Rule was so caught off guard, because I'm sure in his head the game ended, and he was like, oh, come on. He's thinking about all the stuff we did wrong, or thinking about what he's going to say in his speech, and all of a sudden this big Iowa linebacker's coming at him, and he could see in his face, he's like, what's going on? And he shakes his hand. I wonder, do you think this is, I've never been on a team where the captains didn't shake the hands. I wonder if it was like did they talk? I wonder what that conversation was like beforehand. Did they were they out and about earlier in the week? And they're like, hey, it'd be really funny if we didn't shake their hands. Or was it the coach saying, hey, we don't like these guys, don't shake their hand? I don't know whose idea it was, and how they came to the conclusion that would be a good idea. That would be, I don't know. I would guess, it was, they were the captain, because I don't think they pick they do new captains every week, right? It's not the same. And I bet they pick them like Wednesdays. I bet Wednesdays, Thursdays they pick them. So I bet like that on the bus to the game. Here's what I bet it was, if I had to guess. I bet on the bus to the game, they were all looking at each other and they were like, hey, I think it'd be great if we just didn't shake their hands. I think it would send a message. Like, they wanted to send a rivalry message. And I get it. I don't think it was necessary. I think if you don't shake hands, you got to win the game. Like, bottom line, it's a bad look if you don't win the game. So when you do something like that, when you have an antic like that, you got to focus here. You're going to win the game. Yeah, I think that's all I got in that game.
Well, did you see too, a lot of people thought it might be a reaction to the fact that Nebraska typically went to the midfield logo of their opposing teams and had a prayer. Iowa had police officers at the logo to make sure that, I don't know if it was directly to make sure Nebraska
I did not see that.
But yeah, they did.
So I didn't realize that was a thing. Like, who goes, like, before the game they go to midfield?
Yes, it's well before the game, before fans get in the building or anything.
Really? Because typically when I was there, it was in the end zone. Dudes would go to the
That's
end
what
zone.
most teams do. Matt Rule taking his teams to midfield, and a lot.
I guarantee you, Iowa did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't want. I mean, that kind of makes sense to me that they wouldn't want them to do that. Like, it's their logo, and that's like they're defending their home territory.
When we saw how important that midfield logo was all weekend.
We'll get to that in a little bit. We'll get to that. That was wild. But yeah, I could see why he would prevent guys from going out there. That makes a little bit of sense. I don't know. Everybody does the end zone. Every team I've ever been on does the end zone. Every team I've ever seen does the end zone. So that's a little bit of a strange.
Yeah.
I don't know what do you think he's trying to accomplish by having guys go to midfield?
Well, I think it's just kind of like, hey, we're in the building. This is the center of it. We're going to need to make plays out here today. Look around, type of thing. But yeah, I mean, you are doing it at the chance that you're going to offend somebody.
Yeah. So you're exactly right about that. Then, if that's the case, and they had people standing on the logo, they went to the I guarantee you this is what happened. They went to the locker room and they were like, "Oh, these guys, they think they can take the logo. They don't. We can't pray on the logo." Now, like God gets brought into it. They're talking about, "Oh, we can't pray on the logo. We're not going to shake their hands."
Yeah.
I guarantee you that's how it went in some form or fashion. That makes sense. I don't know. They did what they did. I don't hate it. I don't hate that they did it. It doesn't bother me that they didn't shake their hands.
I think I saw on Twitter too, Jamari Butler said there was a couple other games, USC included, that they also chose not to shake hands. So
USC did?
Nebraska has chosen not to shake hands before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
this wasn't the first time.
It's not an isolated incident.
Is that right?
Yeah.
See, that's what I think as long as you win, nobody cares.
Right.
Because I was checking Twitter. I didn't see anything about it until they lost. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw anything about them not shaking hands until they lose. And then
when you think about it too, I mean, they've just, again, I like to bring it up when you're in the room because you actually did help finish beating Iowa for the one time in the last 9 years. Yep. But they haven't had any success. So, I get it. Some people don't like, well, it doesn't represent the end well or all that, but he's trying to find an edge, and maybe the edge worked. They were up 10-0 at halftime.
It might have worked. Yeah. We say this a lot. I mean, this is consistent, but we should have won this game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's fair to say, like, if you just look at the stats, we should have won the game.
Yeah.
There's no question. And I think I said that when I had Nick on the show. When I had Nick Hendrich on the show, I was like, I think I said something about we should have won that game when we were talking about, I don't remember which game we were talking about. We should have won that game. And he's like, we kind of say that a lot. We say we should have won that game a lot. We're winning on all the statistical categories. We're winning going into the fourth. And then all of a sudden, two things happen and bang, we're lose. So yeah, look, I think if you're gonna not shake hands, I think nobody's gonna care as long as you win. And I think the outrage was from like that linebacker's not gonna go say something to Matt Rule if they had lost.
Yeah.
You got to win the game if you're gonna do that. Didn't bother me that they did it though. That's all I'll say about it.
All right, let's take a quick break. This is 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic. We'll be back after this.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
The electrical workers of local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today. The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations, now 5 Lincoln locations. That's 25% more locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? That feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside the 93.7 The Ticket Studios on O Street. Attention students and anyone else looking for a great deal. Sun Valley Lanes and Games has the ultimate weeknight special. For just $15.95, enjoy unlimited bowling, lucky putt mini golf, and laser tag. Flash your college ID at check-in to receive $2 off your admission. It's the perfect way to unwind Sunday through Thursday nights. Check out sunvalleylanes.com for hours and availability. Sun Valley Lanes and Games, located at 321 Victory Lane.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete. Sun Valley.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
The Link Grill Draft and Crafts is your spot in Southeast Lincoln for great food and drink. They're serving new menu items and a killer craft cocktail menu with your favorite draft beers. You'll love their pizza and new entree options. It's a great place to watch any live events, and they have music bingo every month. They have an aggressive loyalty program that rewards fans with 7% back on all purchases. Home of the Nebraska Power Hour every night from 8 to 9 p.m. Order online at thelnkgrill.com or stop in at 84th and Highway 2 today.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
Back to 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic, sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we're back. This is 6 p.m. in Lincoln. It's 6:32. Still got to get that clock changed. We still got that daylight savings time going on.
I think we're just waiting until next time.
There, I do that too. I do that with my oven. Yeah, so we're out here. We're in Lincoln. We're talking college football today. We got the Christmas decorations up in the studio. We're feeling good. We're not. Yeah, so let's move on. I don't really want to talk about Nebraska anymore. We hit them and we hit on that game enough. Tough loss. Feel good about getting a bowl game and some extra practice, but obviously a lot to be improved on going into next year, and I think some extra practice will help them. The big story of the weekend, I think the one that got the most press was that Michigan-Ohio State. And look, I grew up in Michigan. I grew up watching this rivalry every year. I went to one of them. There's a ton of bad blood between the teams every year. And I think Ohio State, it just boiled over. I think it boiled over at the end where they've lost 4 straight, and they had won like 9 of 10 before those 4 straight. So it just boiled over at the end. And I mean, people have been planting flags on logos. I mean, as long as I can remember. I remember Baker Mayfield. I remember Baker got out there and was like waving it around. He's waving it around. He's got all his boys with him. He's got 10 people with him, and he's waving it around, and he goes, whoosh. And I don't remember, was it Texas?
Oh, man, I feel like that was a non-conference game. I think that was Ohio State.
I think it was Ohio State, and nothing happened. People have been planting flags in opposite logos, like Florida State does it. They've got their thing that they do. They got their little Seminole pole thing. People have been doing it. I think it just boiled over because they were so frustrated that they lost the game. And yeah, you can blame the kicker all you want. You can blame the kicker for missing 2 field goals, which 2 30-yard field goals. You can't miss 2 30-yard field goals. It's an issue. You're going to have to get a new kicker. But you can't be in that tight of a game with Michigan that's 6-5 and you're trying to make the college football playoff. Like that's the whole point of a rivalry game, I think, is somebody gets to play spoiler, because that just made Michigan's season. Like, that coach is going to keep his job. I mean, I'm sure he was feeling a little bit of the heat from the seat going into the game, just a bit. If he loses that game, they had a pretty rough season. They're not doing very well. Maybe if he has another rough season next year, they start to talk about getting rid of him. But you win the Ohio State game, and then there's a big fight afterwards because Ohio State's so mad. You just probably bought yourself another 2 years at the school. Like the coach, I don't even know his name. The guy that came after Jim Harbaugh, but
Sharon Moore.
He just bought himself another 2 years at the school just because he beat Ohio State. I mean, they don't care about the rest of the games. Outside of the national championship, Michigan does not care about a game more than Ohio State, and neither does Ohio State. I think Ohio State would say the same thing. I don't think the planting the flag in the middle of the field is that big of a deal. I don't think it warrants the reaction from Ohio State. And I think the bad look is absolutely on Ohio State here. I don't think you can fault Michigan whatsoever for doing that. People have been doing that for a long time. The fault is at Ohio State. And then you got guys getting pepper sprayed. I mean, who brings I guess the cops probably can't carry guns. I'm glad nobody pulled a gun out, which I don't think they're allowed to carry guns in the stadium anyway, so that wouldn't have happened. But you're having to pepper spray, like that's just a little aggressive. Like I think if anything, they should have been getting Ohio State out the way, like because Michigan just won the game. So like typically when a team wins a game, regardless of whether they're home or away, they kind of get to use the field. They kind of get to say hi to their families. They kind of get to hug each other and do interviews, do press interviews. Like they get to kind of enjoy their time on the field because they won. But so then the losing team just goes back to the locker room and it has to be sad. Like that's typically how a college football game works. Like the field gets taken over by whoever won the game, and you kind of get to do what you want with the field. And people have been planting flags and logos since I can remember. And I think they just needed to get Ohio State off the field. I don't understand why they're pepper spraying Michigan players. That baffled me. But then, so who else did there was a couple other flag planting situations this weekend, huh? It was Arizona State did it.
They did it with their with their little fort.
With their little the trident, trident.
And they destroyed Arizona. So
do you think it was because that game was after Ohio State Michigan, right?
Yeah,
I think they saw Ohio State Michigan and saw the kind of reaction it got, and they were like, "Hey, we should do that."
I don't know if it's I think that there was a common theme of like, and even Texas. I don't know if you saw Texas was going to do it, and then their coach went and like made sure that didn't happen. I think because it was rivalry week, everybody sees Ohio State Michigan. That's the game. That's the ultimate rivalry. I think it did start a little bit of
a trend for
thing.
sure.
Yeah.
And, I mean, honestly, if you're at another school and if you see something like that, get that type of reaction, why would you not do it? Like you just won the game. You're going out on a win. The season's done. I mean, you get a bowl game, but the season's done basically. And you're going out on a win and you want to kind of enjoy it and get some press while you're doing it. And they saw what type of reaction it got. And I mean, everybody was watching that game. By the way, I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was very funny how the announcers at the Ohio State Michigan game on the TV, they were like, "Oh, this is just terrible to see. This is just awful," but they're still showing it. Yeah. Like their camera's rolling, and it's not going to commercial. They're showing it, and they know, like you're getting great ratings.
Yeah.
Like everybody's turning this on, and then the clip's getting shared all over social media. Like this is terrible to see. This is awful, but they're smiling behind the mic. I guarantee you they were smiling behind the mic because they know they're just getting great ratings from the game because everybody's watching it. So, like. I don't think it's bad for college football by any means. I mean, there was a lot of people saying, like the announcers saying, people saying that, oh, this is just horrible for college football. This is just awful. This is a disgrace. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Like everybody thought it was funny. Like,
yeah,
nobody got hurt. There was some pepper spray incident, which was definitely unnecessary, but like, it's good for the sport. There's some bad blood. There's some rivalry. Like you need a little bit of that in the sport. You need some bad blood. You need a team that's going to go to the college football playoff, losing to a 6-5 team that's their rival, and there's some bad blood afterwards. It's just good for the sport. It's good for TV ratings. It's good. It gives the people something to talk about. It gave me 10 minutes of a segment to talk about on my show, and I'm sure it's doing the same for a lot of people. It gives people something to talk about, and I don't think it's bad for the sport. If it was bad for the sport, they wouldn't show it on TV. Like they would have gone to commercial. There wasn't like there was like weapons being taken out. It is what it is. It was funny. It was good to watch. I think a lot of people enjoyed watching that. It got a rise out of people, and I think Michigan deserved their moment because they've had a rough year. And to beat Ohio State like that, I think they deserve their moment, and you got to give them their moment. The Arizona State doing it kind of weak. Like the Trident looked really funny doing it, like no flag on it, just like this little Trident thing. And who were they playing? Who was Arizona State playing?
Arizona.
Yeah. Okay, like it's a rivalry game. I get it.
But that's the question. The Ohio State Michigan was like this huge upset, the biggest rivalry in the sport, and I think everybody wants their rivalry to be it is the biggest to them. So
right,
I get that, but you have like Florida doing it to Florida State when Florida's 7-5 and Florida State's 2-10. Like it's kind of
that's funny. Like that's funny. Like that's comical. That's funny. But then you get to the point. Then you get to the topic of like, where does it stop?
Yeah.
Like where? Like are we gonna have Indiana doing it to Illinois? Like where does the flag planting stop? Like are we gonna see flag planting week 1 next year when Alabama plays Georgia Southern? Like are we gonna see a flag planting? Like where does this flag planting stop? Because obviously it's a topic of conversation, and obviously players know that it gets attention now, and we all know players like to get attention. So where does it stop? I don't know. I think it's pretty funny. I don't think it was too much. I don't think. Maybe the Florida State. I didn't see Florida do it. That's funny. Florida did it to a 2-9 Florida State team. Yeah. That's actually very, very funny.
See, and in North Carolina State, North Carolina, they did that.
They did?
Both teams are 6-6.
Wow. Yeah, they knew they weren't getting people watching. They just they knew they needed a little more. They needed to boost the ratings a bit. Wow. That's funny that set off a chain reaction like that. That's hilarious. I don't think it's bad for the sport. I think there's a point where it gets to be too much. Like if we're doing it in week 1 next year, we got to stop. But that's all I'm saying, the flag planting. We're going to take a little break here. This is 6 p.m. in Lincoln. See you guys in a couple minutes.
Load up on meat and more this fall at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Havelock. This week's special through November 12th is $2 off all crackers, $2 off on grind, $3 off on salami, and buy one, get one free on stew beef. Limit of 2. Locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Highway 2 in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? By placing your bets at Warhorse Sportsbook. Their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
If you're in Seward or Milford,
Listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Back to 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic. Sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
So we're back. I think I kind of already hit on the playoff a little bit, but I think this deserves to be mentioned, and I just thought about it during the break. Just thought about this. How many teams in the country have players with playoff experience? Like over 4 games. Like there's only been this is the first year of the 12-team playoff, right? How many teams in the country have guys with experience playing in a longer format playoff? One. There's one team. It's Indiana. They got the JMU guys. I mean, JMU, FCS team, they always made long runs. There's 24. For people that don't know, in the FCS, there's 24 playoff games. You know what, though? Didn't JMU come to the FBS 2 years ago? So not even them. That's an errant statement by me. That's an errant statement. You can scratch what I just said. They don't have that experience. I was wrong. But it deserves mentioning that the coach does. The playoff will be interesting because it's the first one. It's the first time there's been a 12-team playoff. I think it's nice that a couple teams get some buys. I don't think it's a brutal season. Like, you're playing at this point, you got your 12, you got your camp, then you got your 12 games, and then you got your conference championship, and then you got to play the playoff, which could be a max of 3 games, potentially 4 if you're one of the 8 teams that has to play in the first round. So that's a grinder of a season, and I think those top 4 teams definitely deserve a bye. That's a smart way to do it. I think in the FCS, if I remember right, 8 teams got a bye, and it was so rare that a team that didn't get a bye would win. Like, it was like extremely rare, but it was cool to get teams that were like a top 25, like a good team. It was cool because there was 24 teams in it, so it was cool to get teams that had a decent season. They got a little postseason play to get their to kind of recognize their good season. And I think that's kind of what bowl games do in the FBS. But I think it's nice that with the playoff, everybody has a shot. Like, I think it's cool that any team can go in there and have a chance to win. Do I think with this 12-team playoff, every team has a chance to win? Absolutely not. My outside sleeper team would still be Indiana. I don't see Boise winning it. They don't have the firepower, and I think a good defense is going to shut that running back down a little more than others. Penn State, I guess Penn State could win, but I don't really see them beating Texas or Oregon. Notre Dame, that Northern Illinois loss still just doesn't sit right with me with Notre Dame. Like, I know they've won a lot of games, but like, I don't think they've beaten any great teams, and they lost to Northern Illinois. So I just don't see them winning. Now, honestly, I don't even see Indiana winning. But I think of all the teams that are on this list that I'm looking at, I think Indiana's got the best chance just because they have the older guys and they have the experience and they have the coach that's been to the playoffs in the FCS level. Could be interesting. One thing I think needs to be talked about is this Chicago Bears situation over there. So I'm a big Lions fan. I did a mini camp with the Bears too. So I met this coach, played for him for, I don't know, like a couple weeks, whatever. I did a mini camp. And so I watched this game, and first of all, my heart's breaking as this game's going on because the Lions are just decimated. Like this is their year. Like they were in the conference championship last year, looking great. They come into this season and they're scorching hot. Like they're clearly the best team in the NFL. And then you get to week 12 and like 2/3 of their starters when the season started are out. And I'm not talking like a hammy, like talking ACLs, like legs snapping in half. It's a problem. So my heart is breaking as I'm seeing this game goes on because like they're getting multiple linebackers hurt, multiple defensive linemen get hurt. I think like 8 guys went out with injuries during this game. They still won, but I'm concerned about the rest of the season, and I'm hoping that they can kind of limp to the playoffs, get back to full strength in the playoffs. They might not even get a bye now because I think they're gonna struggle down the stretch because they don't have the firepower because they have so many guys hurt. They're gonna struggle down the stretch. They might lose a couple games. They're gonna make the playoffs. And I think the goal should be to get healthy for the playoffs and get back to full strength and maybe get some fresh legs back for the playoffs. I think that would be the best case scenario for the Lions. They still beat, regardless of having, 8 injuries, they still beat the Chicago Bears. And probably one of the funniest moments, I mean, sure, it wasn't funny for anybody on that Chicago team, but like one of the funniest moments I've seen in a pro football game was like, Chicago gets the ball. Chicago has the ball. They're driving down. They're basically in field goal range. Like they can kick a long field goal. They throw the ball on second down, catch it, and there's 35 seconds. I think there was like 38 seconds left in the game, and they're just absolutely lackadaisical out there. They are not paying attention. They're not thinking there's any sort of rush. No timeout is called, even though they have a timeout. No timeout gets called. And by the time they snap the ball, there's like 4 seconds left and it's over. Like it was one of the most funny things to see because I don't know where the miscommunication was because like as a quarterback, you have to okay, you're playing in a game and like the clock is huge. Like you can easily, and as a quarterback, you have been looking up at the scoreboard the whole game. Like you have to look at the play clock. You got to look at how much time's left. Like, you're down distance. Like, where the clock is at. So you can look at it. And the clock's ticking down 20, 19, 18. And he's just kind of lackadaisically calling this play and getting everybody in their spots. And it gets to 10 seconds and they're still not calling a timeout. Like there's 10 seconds to go and guys are still not even lined up. And there's no timeout called. It was one of the most baffling things you could ever see. I mean, that was their 6th straight loss. I get why they fired the coach. It kind of had to happen. I don't know where the Chicago Bears go from here. They've had a rough few years. I don't know. Caleb Williams, I thought played pretty good. I think he's getting better throughout the season. I think he's kind of finding his groove. I remember it's been cool to watch his development a little bit because preseason, he was just running around throwing crazy throws, acting like it was college, making sidearms and falling down throws. And everybody was really excited about it because they were cool throws. But like everybody also knew like that's not going to work when you're playing like a real like starting defense in the NFL. Like you're not going to be able to just college sling the ball around all over the place. So he's definitely developed a lot. And you saw it in that second half where he's sitting in the pocket and he's actually making throws and he's dishing out the ball. So the resurgence of Keenan Allen too. I didn't even know Keenan Allen was on the Bears, and all of a sudden he gets 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, I think they needed to fire him. Like that's a gaffe that like. And 2, so what happens? I think when bad things happen to a football team is the coach or the quarterback gets blamed. And I think what happened was the owner did not want to blame the quarterback, even though it was like honestly it was the quarterback's fault. Like it was pretty obvious to everybody watching that. Like the coach wanted him to go and like get a play, and there was plenty of time to get a play, and they had 35 seconds to run a play, and then they had a timeout after. So the plan was pretty clear. In my opinion, it was clearly the quarterback's fault. There was no fault of the coach. Like he was on the sideline. You could see him. He's like, hurry up, like go. But I think they fired him because the owner I think wanted to take heat off the quarterback because they had just drafted him in the first round. They want him to be successful. They can't blow a first-round draft pick on a quarterback. So they wanted to, I think, put the blame on the coach because the coach is already struggling and they just wanted to throw it all on his shoulders and get him out of there. So I get it. That was a weird game though because the Lions were dominating the first half. Then they had a bunch of injuries and struggled. But what else happened this weekend in sports? College football rankings. We don't know the full rankings until probably next week because we have conference championships.
Yeah.
Who's playing? Is it Indiana in the Big Ten championship? Who's playing in the Big Ten championship?
So it'll be Penn State and Oregon.
Penn State and Oregon. You know what? That's a cool game.
Yeah.
That's a great game. I would not be shocked if Penn State got Oregon. I would not be shocked.
Yeah.
At all.
Because
then how does that work? Is it the Big Ten championship game winner? Are they the automatic bid and the automatic bye?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Oregon would still get in, but
yeah. Yep.
like they would get the Penn State would get the bye.
Yeah.
Because they have one loss.
Yeah, it's pretty well thought that if Penn State loses, they'll still get in.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 3 right now. Yeah, I would think they would still get in. I mean, yeah. I would think they'd get in over Ohio State, if anything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that Ohio State shouldn't get in. I think they should, but there's an argument to be made for sure. Two losses. Indiana, Penn State, and Oregon have better records, and they're in your conference.
Yeah. Well, that's what's going to be interesting is we might see a 3-loss SEC team sneak in over a 2-loss Big 12 ACC teams.
I don't hate that.
What would your thought be? Yeah,
I don't hate that at all. Which one? Which SEC team is it? Is it Alabama? No, it's not Alabama.
So like Alabama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina they'll probably
they're
be
all
knocking
9-3?
on. They all have 3 losses. They're all probably knocking on the door there, just depending on how championship week.
God, I would have liked to see
out.
Colorado get in there. I would have liked to see Colorado.
But entertaining.
It would have been entertaining. They probably would have won the first game. It would have been entertaining. The Kansas loss sucks.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in the country wanted to see them lose to Kansas because you can tell they're a good team. You can tell that they have a little something to them. They can make a little bit of a run, and I think that Kansas game kind of messed it up, and nobody wanted to see that. But well, here we are. We had a very nice weekend of college football, very entertaining weekend of college football. I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. I enjoyed mine with the family. We're back in Lincoln. This was 6 p.m. in Lincoln. Have a good night, y'all.